Hi, Mary.
Okay. Hi, sis.
How are you doing?
Yes. Up.
Yeah, so today we continue with adventurous journey of writing the power of a name.
Oh yeah. Very
Yeah,
adventurous.
yeah. So today we are almost wrapping up stuff. By tomorrow we have one more after this. So yeah, we started this journey by talking about the importance of a name, and we transited from there. If names are important, or if a name is important, what are the advantages? And we talked about the advantages, several of them.
Mhm.
All right, now someone knows the importance of a name and advantages of a name. How does he go about creating one? And we talked about how to create a powerful name. And if you have succeeded in creating a powerful name, how do you use it? And we talked about using a powerful name. And do you just keep using a powerful name just in one format or in the same way? And we said, no, you need to keep increasing a powerful name. One of the ways to increase a powerful name is collaborating with a powerful name. And if you are collaborating with a powerful name, by consequence, you will find your name dominating. So we talked about dominating with a powerful name. And if
Yeah.
you are dominating, let's it, you know, it goes into your head. We said, no, you need to be measuring. You need to measure. How do you measure a powerful name? And if you are
Yeah.
measuring, if you are succeeding, if you have succeeded thus far in this little journey with us, then we will say there is a way you can maintain a powerful name, because we also know that there are a lot of people that have had powerful names, and they have done all kinds of things with powerful names. But at the end of the day, the other day I was hearing the story of a guy who, you know, was a football player. I mean, American football. You know how insane, these people, how they pay sports people generally. Professionals. And this
Mm.
guy was a professional playing, very professional, and it's just one among many stories. Had all the money, all the girls, all the toys, but at the end of the day, he was working at Walmart, because he was working as a cashier, or like a salesperson at Walmart, because he couldn't manage all this. I think at the time he was playing, they were paying him $80,000 a week. Um,
Wow.
so just imagine someone being paid 80,000 a week, and he played for many years. But after that, because of mismanagement, he couldn't manage his name. At the end of the day, he ended up working at Walmart. And there are all those type of depressing stories all over. So that's why we want to talk about maintaining a powerful name. How do you go about maintaining a powerful name, assuming that you have already done all these things that we have talked about? How do you go about maintaining this powerful name that you have? So, as usual, the author is going to take us through this journey of maintaining a powerful name.
Yes. Yes. That story that you gave is just, I suppose, like one of many really sad situations that happen. And they happen because, again, um, maybe it's not people don't get intentional about many things, and they sort of hope that, you know they always hope that things will happen or keep happening in a certain way that they expect, or maybe the way it's happening to them now. So part of one of the things, one of the very first things that story brings out in terms of maintaining a powerful name is to first of all understand that nothing, there is no situation that is permanent. There is there is absolutely no situation that would be constant. None. even Facebook, even and even Amazon. Because if you think about it, 20, 30 years ago, they didn't exist. There were other brands, there were other powerful brands. And I'm not saying like they can't exist. I mean, after all, Disney has existed for years and years. I think before the 20th Century Fox celebrated 100 years, and before Disney has bought them out over. But that is not even constant. So understanding that things do happen and things could happen, and even if something didn't happen that was bad, life just can't. You can't just stay in one place. You're going to have to evolve. You're going to have to give way to others, but that shouldn't diminish you, right? The fact that if you're being intentional about things, having to give way to others or having to evolve should not diminish you in many ways. So in any way, rather, like about the example of the multi-level marketing, which the more you have people growing under you, the more you top, and it empowers you even more. All right. So that's one of the things in maintaining your name, is to first of all understand that there is, because nothing is constant. Now, what you do to keep yourself um, to maintain that powerful name. So number one,
Can I say something
I would
just
start with,
before
you need
before you
to
proceed?
ser- yes.
Yeah, so I mean, what
You're
you just
breaking up.
said, I came across this writing.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, but your picture is frozen.
No,
Yeah, but
actually,
it's frozen.
your internet is crazy today.
Your video is frozen.
Yeah, your internet is
I'm
not
not
cooperating.
okay.
It's
I
not
think
cooperating
yeah,
today.
it's better now.
Can you hear me?
It's not cooperating.
Yeah, your video for some
Uh,
reasons.
yes, I
I
can hear you, but it's just that
Yeah, if my picture
it
distracts you,
froze.
I can go off. I
Is my
can just I can see you. It's just that it's
no,
quite.
no, no. Okay, hang on. Let me try a different network. Let's just try a different network. Try right now.
Kind of. Hello.
Is this worse? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. I think it's come up now. I think I swapped the internet. I'm trying to use my phone internet. Let's see if that's better.
All right. So I just wanted to say I came across this just before you go on with the points. I came across this short, these short writers, um, and it kind of made sense to me. I came across this I think 2 weeks ago, um, by some guy or some kind of. It's called by Kane Executive. Kane Executive. And the title, you can see it here. Uh, the title is Get It Right. Well, you may not be able
Get
to
it
see
right.
that
No, I
very
can't
well.
see it. It's
Yeah, but it says, I think it kind of captures, that will help launch us into the discussion. It says Get It Right. That's the title. And it says Google was the 12th search engine. iPad was the 12th tablet.
was it
Facebook,
12
yes. I mean, people did all this before. So
before them?
Google was the 12th search engine. iPad
Okay.
was the 12th tablet. Facebook was the 10th social network.
Wow.
Um, Tesla was not the first to make electric cars. Amazon was not the first to sell online.
There's so many of them.
So Amazon was not the first to sell online, and it says it's not who gets first, it is who gets it right when the market is ready. So I just feel you were giving an example with Amazon, and I think this kind of makes sense because today when people are talking about social media, they tend to think that Mark Zuckerberg started the whole thing, right?
No.
When people are talking about selling online, selling stuff, they tend to think that Jeff Bezos started the whole thing. And
No.
there were a lot of people
There
that
was they were
started
very
all kinds
popular
of
ones.
things, and they had some name, but at some point, because they couldn't maintain their name, some people came from behind and took over.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're right, I mean, think about Netflix, which speaks to what talked about change. Change always happens, and people will come from under, from behind, and kind of take. I remember the story of Netflix and what's the company that was, I think, Blockbusters. Blockbusters.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So Blockbusters was the big rental company in America doing
Mm.
physical rental, and Netflix, the owner of Netflix now, actually at that time didn't have much money, nothing. He just wanted he went with this idea of Netflix to the Blockbuster guys and said, "You guys already have the network. You already have the people. All right, let's do something together. Why do it this way? You guys will use your platform, but we digitalize Blockbuster." And they said no, that it was never going to work. And he found a way of, you know, I think he initially started by sending the stuff to post by post. I think he failed. There were a few things that he failed on. Then he got it right. But the bottom line here was that all identifying that the market things are going to change, things would know and getting ready for change is really important in maintaining a powerful name. Um, Always seeking to know what's going to be different, what's and being very open, you know, open to new ideas, to seemingly ridiculous ideas, you know, um, and then being able to check the trends of what can impact on you, on your goals, on your dreams, on your business, what in the future can impact. And I had a session on Saturday with some ladies, and we're talking about, and one of the things that I mentioned in that session is that um, you don't have to start out doing one thing and end doing that one thing, because it is very possible that you have to look at it as a journey, right? You can start out, and I'm not saying just be doing everything, but the point is, like, Amazon started out the way they are today. They evolved, and as they kept evolving, they started as a book reading, if I remember clearly, selling the Kindle, Amazon Kindle, and then from Amazon Kindle to, it's been one step to the other until like when you're playing these games and you're moving, and at some point you will hit the jackpot, the big thing that really helps you um
You
disorganize
have
or disarm or win
you
or get more points.
yeah,
You
you have the eureka moment, right?
Yes, the eureka moment. So there's so you'd find that eventually you'd find that eureka moment. Um, and even when you do find that eureka moment, it will dip again. It could dip again, and you have to always keep finding ways to evolve. So minding change is very important to maintaining a powerful name. You have to mind change. Um, you have to be ready for it, and also know that it's a given. It will happen, and sometimes even that change may see you planning for succession to bring in newer minds, fresher ideas, you know. So which means that you have to either be collaborating or you have some trained hands, maybe your children, or and of course if you had children, it would just make sense for you to have, you know, developed skills because it's the name that they also bear. So I would even add that as one of the, actually, that's one of the points here. So I'm kind of gone ahead. All right.
Yeah, so this sorry to interject. The
Yes.
story of Henry Ford readily comes to mind. Sources have it that one of the major weaknesses of Henry Ford was the Ford company is still relevant, but it would have never been overtaken by all these other brands if Henry Ford was, if his perspective about change was a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, so he was not ready for change to some
He
extent.
was
He was kind of this is my own way, this is how it is, and people will tell him that hey, things are gonna some other people are gonna come and take over if you don't do this and that, and he will say, you know sarcastically, that he doesn't see anyone that can take over the Ford company, and that is a reality, that no matter what you do, sometimes it could even be one of your employees that has studied the system that may just go and start some kind of company, and within a short time that you become irrelevant if you are not
irrelevant too.
constantly evolving, just as you said. And so it's important to come face to face with the idea of change, that change is, as they say, change is the only thing that is constant. So that things are going to happen, and some guy may just come and overtake you. You have put in all the work. Maybe you have worked in this company for 20 years and you have been leading for those 20 years. It doesn't mean anything because someone is out there strategizing what you're not doing. Someone may be strategizing and thinking about that thing that you're ignoring. And when they launch, see, you gave an example with Netflix. See how Netflix has changed the way we do movies, right? You remember how we used to go and borrow
Borrowing the DVD.
buy this stuff, and even if you for you to purchase DVD and stuff like that, and it was kind of expensive. And but look at what Netflix has done. The way YouTube has changed the game in terms of video sharing. That
And
is how
content, basically.
yeah, in terms of content, YouTube changed the game in terms of content. Is the same way Netflix has changed the game. So we never know what is going to be the next game
What
changer
is
in
it?
whatever
Absolutely.
in the next year or so. So it's important to keep evolving and to come face to face with the reality that change is real. And somebody's gonna, if you have a name, don't just go about bragging about it. You need to
Yeah,
do
don't,
a name.
yeah. You gotta, I mean, that's what measurement helps you to see, you know, like when we talked about measuring your name, because it brings you to that hard reality that, okay, something's going wrong. This name is dipping. Why? Or this is going on. But you don't only have to wait till things start to, when once you face the fact that change is constant, you know, you have to keep finding new ways, new ways, new ways. So you're ahead of the game. So you're being more, so whilst people are trying to catch up on you being this, you're next on the, you're already, you know, creating new opportunities and moving forward.
And if I may, I would say that is one of the major strengths of Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
That's one of his major strengths. He's constantly thinking about change. He sees some guy starting Instagram, he want to buy it, right? He sees someone starting Snapchat, he wants to buy it, and all those things.
Yeah.
And if he comes to you and says, "Sell it to me," and you refuse, I
He'll
bet
go,
you he's gonna steal those ideas, quote unquote, steal, and put them on Facebook and render you irrelevant, right? So because
yeah,
he doesn't want to get to a point. According to people that have studied Mark Zuckerberg, his culture, he's always afraid of getting to a point of status, a point of feeling that Facebook is on top of the game. No, he's always looking at, if you have, even if a small company is coming up, he will be like, go and examine that. What is it they are doing? Especially if people are following them, what is it that they are doing that we are not doing here? You know, if he sees something that is like a threat to Facebook, he will want to buy the company, or at least copy that and put on Facebook, so that
yeah,
to just keep it relevant and keep it moving. Yeah.
yeah.
Some people
So
say is a bad, it's not bad. Some people say, well, that is aggressive kind of a thing. You just want to dominate. You know, we talked about dominating with a name, that he just wants to dominate everything social media. I mean, he's trying to maintain a name. That's all he's trying to do. Yeah.
absolutely. So as far as you I mean, brings me to the next topic, which is basically honoring your name. You know, and when I say honor your name, I'm also saying, like, if you if you if you understand what you have built, all right, and you you know you have you've spent these years, like you've said, you've spent this time to build it up, or you're building it up and everything, you will not want to see it just go to ruins, or you
Mhm.
shouldn't, although some people are very careless. So that's why I said, honor your name, honor what you have built, right? So that you don't play truancy with it, you don't become careless, you don't become what's the word, complacent. um you don't take it for granted, you don't assume things. Like they say, assumption is the lowest form of ignorance, or sorry, lowest form of intelligence rather. um you know, you don't assume that you are who you are, and you are, or at least it starts to dwindle. Okay, so in honoring your name, you will honor other people. All right, because like the respect is reciprocal. When you honor, when you honor yourself, or you honor, you know, you honor yourself, it's like, it's like um it's like, if you go, okay, you went to Yale, right, and you've spent the time and efforts, and you know what it takes to be in Yale, or to be a student of Yale. You know the time, the money, the work, the intellectual work you have to earn your certificate and all. The moment you see somebody else from Yale, what happens? There's just this respect. There is, because you know what person has gone through, which is what you have gone through. So the moment you honor your name, you honored yourself by taking yourself through that education and everything and building yourself up in that knowledge. The moment you see someone else who is trying to do the same thing as you have done, you know the process that the person is going through, you know the difficulty the person is going through, and therefore you will automatically honor that person. You automatically honor that person. And when you do that, you create you create a cycle, or a constant cycle of honor, which keeps your name, you know, keeps your name growing and being even more powerful, and keeping it, because maintenance is not about keeping it shiny and making it look glossy. It's about increasing it still. All right. So maintaining it you maintain it by increasing it still. All right. But we're just focusing on that here. Those are the things that you do to maintain. And humility is also very important.
Yeah.
And
So
when
before you talk about humility. So as we are talking about honor, something kind of funny came to mind. You know, in
okay.
Nigeria, we have this expression that people will look at you and say, "You better respect yourself," right? In the real sense, that is a good advice. You know, we usually take it as insult, but telling you
Yeah.
better respect yourself means that you have a name, you
Yeah.
better respect it, because someone has seen that you are trying to really
Yeah. Get
destroy
out
your
of
name. So
destroyers.
they are cautioning you. They may not do it lovingly, but it's just saying, hey, you've got something at stake here, right?
Yeah.
You better
Absolutely.
respect it. You better
Respect yourself.
honor it, because if you don't, it's about to get down. That type of thing. So as we were talking, that kind of just reflected in my mind that maybe we should start taking people seriously. People that tell us we better respect yourself, uh, because they love us. They know that we have something to protect.
Absolutely.
If we don't respect ourselves, it's about to get down, to go down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. So yeah, maybe at that point, that's the point you should put there. Better respect yourself. Are you there? So do I
So,
go on?
yes, I'm here. Just
Yep.
go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So being humble is a very key. Is the next key point, and uh, I mean, I guess humility needs to be really explained here, because it's not about being cowardly or being what's the word now, being
Being a patsy.
yeah, being psychophonic, you know like it's not about cowering down to other people. It's not about other people sitting on top of you. It's not about you not asserting yourself. It's not about you being called arrogant, because asserting yourself sometimes could come off as being arrogant. So it's not about all those things. It's about a genuineness of heart, a genuineness of spirit. I say genuineness of spirit, which is knowing and understanding that you are who you are only by the grace of God. You Everything that you have, one snuff off your out of your nose and you're nothing. So that's a good place to start to understand that. Um, after a while, Solomon started to say, "Vanity upon vanity is, all this thing is vanity." The moment he lost touch with reality, with the reality of his purpose and who he was, he started having a distaste for things that he now had. you know. And so you have to have a humility check, because it's very easy to go the other way. When you have all this power and you have all this admiration and you have all these people, you know, you have to have something that you have to instill, or put something that puts you in check, you know, somebody or something. Don't just say, oh, never mind, I will always be humble. It's not true. It's not true. We wouldn't even know when we are going um out of line. So putting key checks to check our humility quota is very important. And I believe that staying humble in the trueness of humility, and that always starts from a place of understanding that I am only opportune in as much as I worked hard for it. I still am only um I have I've merely given the opportunity to have this understanding, to have this knowledge, to do all this hard work to get me to where I am. All right. And it is really um not something that I should take for granted. Right. So that's that. Um so the other thing would be invest in
Yes.
people. In You want to say something?
No, I mean the adage, just to throw the adage there that says the simple way up is down, talking about humility, which sounds like an oxymoron or a paradox or something like that. But the simple way up is down.
It's down, yeah.
If you want to, generally people detest pride and arrogance. It also, just like you pointed out, it doesn't mean that you should just go about saying, like some people pretentiously do in Nigeria. They'll be like, I am nothing. Oh, they say you are this. Oh, you are a great CEO, Mary. I'm not. Oh, he's by the grace of God. That's not what we're talking about. He say, yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Accepting your strength does not mean you are not humble, right? Because
Yeah.
it's fake humility to refuse to
Yeah.
accept your strength. If
Yeah.
somebody looks at me and says, oh, Seth, you are so intelligent, I tell them thank you.
Yeah.
Because if I pretend
And that's
I'm
right.
not, I'm not intelligent, I know that that is being hypocritical. I know I am, right? But if I just go about saying, oh, look at me, I'm intelligent, that is also a different thing, right? But it doesn't mean putting yourself down. Humility does not necessarily mean that, especially if you have a name. It doesn't mean that when people are complimenting you because of your name, whether it's your personal name or a brand or a company or whatever you're doing, you should be saying, "Oh, we just stumble on this thing by it's just
Just by
it's just by luck. It's just by guessing. It's the doing of the Lord. Those type of things. No, it's not the doing of the Lord. Well, God superintends
it is
everything,
the
but
doing of the
but
Lord, but he used the very processes that you went through that
yeah,
you had
sure. So,
to
because if
tell
you say
people.
it's just the doing of the Lord, you are just
He
saying,
didn't jump from heaven,
why is the Lord not doing it to
not
the
doing
other
it
person?
publicly.
So, Nigeria, there are all kinds of false humilities. People do all kinds of things. So, in the name of humility, and they know
Yeah.
that they are just pretending. Anyway, I just wanted to to mention that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, even like the Bible says, God detests a haughty spirit. Even just the look, the pompous look, like you go into a place and because you think that because you're powerful, you want to squash a little ant, you want to use your might, you know, and but you can imbibe a spirit, a gentle spirit, um, and you really can do that by basically having um, constantly checking yourself, and having a feedback system. All right, which is one of the things I was going to say. You must have a feedback system. You must have a way it checks up. You have to have if you are above everyone, there's a problem. You have to have the people that can stare you in the face and tell you the truth. And you have to consciously create it. um Consciously create it, especially as you're going up. So whether it's your wife or you don't bully everybody point where they can't talk to you anymore, so they let you go off on a tangent, and then you eventually burn up, or something goes wrong. So I remember the story of Abigail and the husband in the Bible. When David asked for, um he was a very rich and powerful man, literally got into his head. And when David, he said, "Who is David?"
Nabal,
He,
right?
he dishonored, yes, he dishonored David, and that could have cost him something. So humility and honoring other people is so important in maintaining. That was
This
what brought the downfall of that man.
this
Um,
is this is just an aside. It's gonna be funny, but in the case of Nabal,
yes,
who was the husband of Abigail, right? Uh,
yes,
David was asking for that, and he did that his thing because he was powerful. In the story, there is this funny thing. After he died and all those things, Abigail went to meet David. Um, she now told us the meaning of his name. She said, "Don't mind that fool," because that is actually the meaning, the meaning of. So, because we are why it's funny to me is because we are talking about the
name,
power,
powerful
the
name.
power of a name. So, for him, there was nothing to even maintain because he was a fool.
No, 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 no. Hang on. He maintained the foolishness. Friends, he
Yeah,
maintained
he did. He actually
foolishness.
maintained his foolishness, and which led to his destruction.
Absolutely led to his destruction. All right.
You better
So
choose your name very well. You see, this is a very classic example about the power.
the power of a name. Yeah, there you go. So you need
Uh,
to choose the name because you become the name. Yes, and you maintain the name. You get to maintain the name. That was a good pointer. And she's like, "Don't mind the foolish man." And he was really foolish. He did everything. So, absolutely. So being humble and honoring other people is a very powerful way of um, maintaining a powerful name. And the other thing would be empower others. All right. Um, you just talked about um, a footballer who eventually became literally a sales. What was he? A salesperson or
Salesperson at Walmart.
at Walmart? You know. Now think about it. I mean, things happen. Shit happens. Something could go really wrong. Your health could really challenge you.
Do you want us to put shits happen in your book?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh well. But that shit happens. Okay. Okay. Let's put that one aside. But anyways, so um so the guy you talked about, that guy working in Walmart, and I see that a lot, especially here in Nigeria, where people come off, and I would use politics because really that seems to be the most powerful space um, in the country or in Africa, basically. When once you're in politics, you hold a powerful position. Now I see a lot of people come off those positions and literally die paupers, end up their family in poverty, or even if they may stay in the game and they may still be respected as others, but without money. So they become every cycle of elections become like hawks for the next political set of people coming in, and because that's basically what they're using to, because they never really genuinely invested in other people. All right, because I believe that when you make a deposit, when you deposit in other people's lives, all right, um, you will you will benefit. Not that you're doing it with the mindset of them coming back to you to do it, because some people are ungrateful and will never do it. Fortunate, all right. But if you choose right the kind of people to invest, because it's also important. There's no need. Even Jesus said, I can't give food to the dogs, you know, which means that he was picky about those that he would bless in terms of um miracles and all that. He was clear about who he cared for and who he was going to work with. So of course you should be clear about who you want to invest in and with for. But it's important to invest in people. Don't just invest in properties and buildings, and invest in people, because when everything else fails, those people those people will stand for you. And when I say invest in people, it's not always money. It could be money, but maybe money is not even as important, because people that you probably have to invest money with um may not just do well, because anybody that you have to keep giving money doesn't have to make money himself, and that's not the point. Yes, you should invest, but invest in people by helping, by being very intentional about raising other people up, make sure that if you're a billionaire, you have raised other people to become billionaires, become millionaires. You know, if you are if you're a manager in a business, or if you're a manager in a company, make sure that you have empowered other people to become managers as well. If you are whatever position that you are, so it's not about money, it's not about when you're a billionaire or you're a millionaire. It's not any situation that you find yourself. Make sure that you are actively empowering other people to be as good as you are, or even better. All right, but it's not even so much about you, because they may not be in your pathway, but it could be spending a few minutes to advise a young person, sowing the seed. I never forget. I always tell people, during my youth service year, um, I had a one of those moments that totally changes your life, and it was my boss. I served in a subsidiary of NNPC, and this woman, she used to work in different subsidiaries. She was like a big manager, and she would come, maybe this month she's here, next month she's another subsidiary. She was walking around the country. So whenever she was around, she would work me. She would make sure I work till late. I must be in the office throughout. Every other person she would let go, she would keep me. And I thought she was punishing me, but I didn't. She saw something in me and she wanted to groom me. And I was being a bit, young. I'll put it that way. But anyways, uh, she said something to me that stuck, and that's it. That's all she needed to do ever in her life. That totally changed my mindset. She called me up one day into her office and she said to me, "You're a very intelligent girl. You're very intelligent. I haven't seen I have been seeing youth corporates, but I haven't seen I I've not seen someone as intelligent. You're highly intelligent." And then she said to me, and she's like a really big. Her husband at that time was the MD of Union Bank or some really big bank. Yeah, at that time. So I mean, she's well exposed. So she said to me, "But let me tell you, scrap what I just said. Scrap all that intelligence. If you are not diligent, nothing would ever come out of you. No matter how intelligent you are, scrap it." At that time, I mean, I knew the word diligent, but I had to go study the word. So I picked up a dictionary, and um, she told me to go study the word diligent. And I went and I studied. I literally studied the word diligence, and I evaluated it against what I felt she was trying to make me change, how she was trying to make me see things. And but it slapped. I mean, I was young, I was in my 20s. She literally like slapped me on my face with that in terms of reset my brain, because at that point I understand that it wasn't enough for me to be intelligent, because everybody wants you to be brilliant in school. Everybody wants you. So focus is, oh, what you've got upstairs. And people come out of school being highly disappointed that their brilliance and their intelligence is not enough. It's not even 5% of the game. It's not even going to take them anywhere. And so, what am I saying? Investing in other people doesn't necessarily take much, but it does take some effort to be highly intentional um, in making sure that you are an inspiration to other people. It might not even be people that are really close to you, but people that are able to emulate your lifestyle, are able to look up to you and have some courage and have some, and this can happen in many ways: in writing a memoir, telling your story, by actually mentoring some young people, or by really creating a community around you that you can actually inspire. You can do it in many ways, but whatever way you're doing it, just make sure that you have people that you have invested yourself into. Because tomorrow, anything happens. There's this scripture, and I never saw it like that. I mean, that's always talk about that scripture a lot. I feel that people have gotten that scripture wrong, where they say, the scripture that says that there will always be the poor amongst you. Right. Now, that's not what Jesus was saying. He wasn't really saying there will always be the poor amongst you. Because when I went back and read that story properly, what he said was that reinstate. He said there would always be a situation where someone who was doing well, something happens and the person falls off or falls. And so what he was enjoining the group of people he was talking to, he was saying that you need to reinstate brothers who have fallen. All right, you need to bring them back to the place. So if they had a house, you need to give them a house. If they had a car, you need to give them a car. If something goes wrong, you basically need to reinstate them, bring them back um to where they were, so that they don't feel ashamed or they don't really feel bad. And that's basically what that scripture actually talks about. All right, but that can only happen if you, when everything was going on okay, you also invested in other people, or you were also communal in your share of wealth and revenue. I'm so sorry, the noise. the
No,
baby.
no worries. You said cutting you. I'm not the one saying this. Cutting you, shit happens. So
Oh well, when you're home, it's not just shit happens. It's baby cries. It's all kinds of things going on. But yeah. So yeah. So that's one of the things in maintaining a powerful. I think it's a very powerful thing to invest because, like we talked about at the beginning, that change happens, things happen, things go wrong. All right. If you look, if you know the story of the Chinese billionaire, what's his name now? What's that company? That's
Jack
almost
Ma,
like an Amazon.
Alibaba.
Alibaba, yes, Alibaba company. The CEO today is a product uh, uh, of Jack himself. There was a story of how she was the receptionist, I believe, and he kept telling her to stick with him, that the business was going to grow. The lady, and today she's one of China's billionaires. Um, yeah, and now he can resign and do other things, have her as a CEO because she's invested to that business and she's not going to let it down. So, and while she's increasing the name, doing the job at Alibaba, he's busy sitting in his house and still making his money and, doing other things, has the capacity to do other things right now, go around talking and all that. So you have to, you have to invest in other people, um,
I
to
think
maintain.
I think that's just as you said, is a very important point, and we're gonna stress that a lot in the book because, especially the African culture, there is some kind of I don't want to say it's misinformation, but some kind of ideology that is being propounded or that spreads like cancer that if you empower others, it's like they're gonna take from you.
Yeah.
People don't fail to understand that if you empower people, you are actually contributing to yourself. You are building your name.
Yourself. Yeah.
It doesn't even matter whether these people turn out and they hate you. It doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
because even if you build someone, if you invest in the life of someone, they can never tell their story without mentioning you. Even if they abandon you at the end of the day, they can't
Yeah.
take away that fact. It has become a fact, and
Yeah.
people get to know that it was through you that they became what they became.
I
So in
mean,
other
listen,
words,
I'm talking about someone 20 years. I'm still talking about her. And I
really.
told literally every of my employees, I always tell them how that one advice, changed my direction and life, you
So,
know.
so empowering someone is one of the great investments you can do. Empowering people is one of the great investments you can do, and it's one of the ways, it's one of the easy ways that you can maintain your name. No matter how, just like she told you, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how smart you are, if you're not diligent and all kinds of things. So it also applies no matter how intelligent or smart or innovative or what have you that you are. If you don't have people, if you're not empowering people to take after you, you're gonna die anyway. You can't contest that fact. You may die with your name, right? So
Yeah.
if you I think we have said this somehow in some parts of the books, in some of the chapters, that why do we still talk about some of these great people that have lived?
Even
Why
if
do we
it,
even talk about Plato? Why do we talk about Socrates? Why do we talk about
uh,
Aristotle? Because Socrates empowered Plato. Plato
yeah.
was his disciple. Plato empowered Aristotle,
So,
right? And despite the fact that Plato later disagreed with his master Socrates, but he kept giving him credit for empowering him, despite the fact that Aristotle also disagreed with his master Plato, but he kept talking about him for empowering him, and that is how you maintain a powerful name.
even
Because
Napoleon Hill.
Even Napoleon Hill.
Because
We
of
can.
how many people he empowered, his
Mhm.
book still remains, because as he keeps
Absolutely.
empowering those people, they say, oh, no, you need to read this book. And from generation to generation,
They need. They
people have
kept talking about him.
been talking about the same person. He's no
Yeah.
longer talking about himself, but because he empowered people, I think he empowered El Nightingale, or was it reverse? I can't remember now.
Yeah. Actually. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then, it just kept going on and on and on. And in fact, if not for him, Ford, because that book has the story about the Ford, Henry Ford. And what's that guy's name? That's basically how we even know those people, you know.
That's very true. Yeah. He talked about Del Carnegie there, and
Dale
and all.
Carnegie, yeah, that's the name I was trying to
Yeah,
remember.
and I think that is one of this concept needs to be demystified in Africa, especially that if I empower other people, if I invest in them, they're gonna take from me. No, you are actually doing yourself a favor to empower
Yeah.
other people, because if you empower other people, believe you me, they will keep talking about you, and other people will be like, "Who is this guy? I want to meet him." Right? I'm writing your name. I'm right. We are collaborating to do a book, right? Who
Yeah.
knows? Tomorrow you may. I don't want to say Buhari. Maybe some president may invite you to Aso Villa to have, and you'll be like, "Oh, by the way, maybe you take a complimentary,
Okay.
copy to them, and you start. Oh, this is a fascinating book, and what have you? Who knows? Somehow, maybe my name may come up, and you'll
Yeah.
be like, oh." You really need to meet Seth, and maybe I've been praying a lot for that, and you go, oh, I need to meet him. That is those are some of
And
the
that's how it's
secrets.
spreading. And that's
Those
how
are
it's
some,
spreading.
yeah, those are some of the secrets of even becoming rich and all these other things that
Absolutely.
we don't usually think about in Africa. When you become, I'm hammering this because probably a lot of Africans are going to read this book. We need to stress that in the book, because we operate with this mentality that, oh, if I invest in the lives of others, they're gonna take from me. So we will rather just be the chiefs in our village or in our town. Let people come and be kowtowing. Let people come and be worshiping us and be calling us. He is the only general we have ever produced in this
Yeah.
village. He is
But
the only
it
professor.
does, the thing you're saying actually plagues the political space. And one of the reasons why um we haven't moved forward a lot is this thing you're saying. Because I mean, as you were talking, I just remembered, most times in the local government, they'll say, oh, the senator is going to be empowering people, empowerment campaigns. And then you get there, and they give they give a car to someone who doesn't have a job to fuel a car. Or you give a bike to a man who doesn't know how to, who basically is struggling to feed his family and doesn't know, what to do with it. You know, give money, and I'm not saying on any of these things is bad, but because they're not sustainable, and that's why I said that it's not about money. It shouldn't be only about money, all right? Because if what you do is give me money and help me to make my business successful by giving me the knowledge, and then you give me the money to help me to fuel the business to keep going, then that's when I'll be successful. But if it's not a sustainable empowerment scheme, it only finds people and sees the people go back into poverty. And that does not help your name in any way, because
We,
it only when growth occurs, when transformation occurs to the person that you're empowering, then your name also grows. You know, if no
the only
transformation happens, if no transformation happens, like in my case, which I talked about, a transformation happened. She gave me that knowledge. I worked on it. I started working on myself. I started reading books about diligence. you know, and transformation happened. All right. So years after, I'm able to still talk about how she, impacted on my mindset and got me on my focus. All right. I was able to start my company at 29. So the point is, I was only able to achieve the things I achieved only because somebody at the age of 20 screwed screwed my head on right. Let me put it that way. Um, um, so in investing in people, which is what you're saying, because people can argue that they empower, but they do not empower sustainably. In fact, they actually empower you so that you can keep coming to them.
They empowered you for failure. That's
They
basically
empower you for failure. They empower
the,
you to keep coming to them so that they keep remaining as, uh, well, it's fast because that's not how it works, you know. But they
they
seemingly keep remaining as the masters. All right.
because they have given you fish instead of teaching you how to fish.
Exactly. So we need to empower rights because that ideology of empowering people but not empowering the right way is also what is keeping us a lot where we are. Why there are not too many books written out of Africa, and we have so many stories, and we have so much knowledge to pass down, but there isn't that much information out. I remember when I started my business, I was looking for, I was looking for biz, I was looking for mentorship. I tell you, I was searching. I was writing to top business people, even though maybe I didn't even understand how to get around it. But the point is, I didn't even have. So when I looked around and I couldn't get knowledge locally, I started buying books of I started looking for knowledge, and I started finding how to start a business, how to run a marketing business. I started finding it in other in American books. All right, and that's why, unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately because there it's a blessed country. America still rules the world. Why? Because they are always willing to share their knowledge. They're always willing to empower other people. So if you're busy reading books and getting empowerment from another country who's willing to always empower, help other people, why do you think that that country is going to fall, is going to go down? Because they're will give. All right. How many countries are being empowered because a Nigerian sitting here, we're known for being intelligent people, but we don't empower any other person. We don't empower people than ourselves. How many people can sit in India and say they were empowered by a Nigerian businessman or a top African businessman because they saw his work or they read his book, or or he came to their city and did, so if we as Africans not empowered, I mean, I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing. All right. Because if we start to, no matter how little it may seem, you know, um, but at least you start, and you never know how you never know where it picks up. You never know, But just be intentional about empowering other people. That's
Let,
yeah.
yeah, let me just chip in this anecdote. I'm sure you probably have. I'm sure you're familiar with Jim Rohn.
Jim Ron, yes.
All right. So he tells this popular story. It's like when Jim Rohn was alive, almost everywhere he's invited, he tells this story about the person he calls his mentor. And this guy is, if not because of Jim Rohn, nobody will even know his name. His name is Al Shove. And it is because of Jim Rohn that people started saying, who is this even guy? Who is this guy, Al Shove? Right? But he talks about every time I've listened to Jim Rohn a lot,
Mm,
most of his stuff, but he would talk about, how his life was just a wreck. And one day, a friend of his said to him, I know a guy that can actually help you. You know, he was married. Jim Rohn was married. He was in his late 20s. His life didn't have focus. He was in great debt. You know, all those typical American problems for the average person. And his life was just going down the drain. And his friend, so two people actually played an important role, but Jim Rohn, of course, will always talk about his mentor, Al Sharf. He said his friend met him and said, I actually know a guy. This guy is a millionaire. And if you can meet him, he's gonna help you. And Jim Rohn said, really? And he said, yeah. And the guy, his friend, introduced him to Al Sharf. And he went and met at Al Sharf. A little bit of a difficult name there. But Sharf said when he met him, and he said, really, my life has no direction. This is who I am. I am married. I am in dates and stuff like that. He just narrated his life. And Al-Shafs did not say, I'm giving this example to contrast it with our African way of doing stuff. Al-Shaf would have said, oh, you are in serious debt. How much do you owe? Actually, well, here is 2,000. Go help your family. I pity you. You have a wife. And no, he didn't do that. He never gave him money. Al-Shaf said, I'm gonna help you. Come walk with me for free. I'm gonna help you. This was a needy guy, but I'm gonna help you. He said, if you do, Al-Shaf told him, if you do everything I tell you to do without whether it makes sense to you or not, if you do it, I can assure you that in 3 years, you're going to be a millionaire. And Jim Rohn said, oh, that will be wonderful. And he said, and if you become a millionaire, Jim Rohn always says, and he was like, no, you don't need to even tell. If I become a millionaire, I mean, what is more than that? You don't need to even tell me if I become a millionaire. This is no, just make me a millionaire. And the guy said, no, hold it. Because you can become a millionaire and lose it. And Jim Rohn always says, and that was exactly what he did. He became a millionaire in 3 years and lost everything within the next 1 year because he didn't listen to the other part of the advice, right? Why am I bringing this? Jim Rohn, until he died, kept talking about Al-Shaf. That was little known. Guess who mentored Tony Robbins? Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was his mentor. And Tony Robbins was also, his life was, he was bullied so much in school. His life was on a rag, and he met Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn also told him, if you do what I tell you to do, in 3 years, you're going to, and that was it. And guess how many people Tony Robbins has, mentored? That is how you gave an example with America. That's their secret, because they are sharing knowledge, they're empowering, they're investing in people's lives. And even Bob Proctor, I think we talked about Bob Proctor the other time. It was Napoleon Hill. Somebody actually, his mentor said to him, he's not Napoleon Hill directly, but his mentor said to him, if you take this book and read it word for word and read it for the next how many you're going to become, you don't even need another book. And he followed that, like, in Nigeria, they'll be like, oh, are you a sheep to just be following people like that? But if somebody tells you that, why don't you try it until it falls, right? But in Nigeria, I think the problem, or in Africa, the problem is multifaceted, or is twofold, in the sense that on the one hand, you find people that have a name that are not willing to invest in the other people. And of course, when we're talking about investment, we have clarified here. We are not talking about giving them fish. We are talking about teaching them how.
And that's why their name doesn't really transcend.
Yeah, because after a short time, people forget
about it.
And they become irrelevant. But I also think the other part of the story that we just need to balance is also the people sometimes are not even willing to be helped, right? Somebody may come to you, Mary, you are a CEO, and they may just come to you and start, oh, I don't have, you need to help me, blah, blah, blah. And you'll be like, okay, I understand your story. I want to help you. Tomorrow, come meet me in the office. This book, go and read it. It's written. They'll be like, look at this woman. Now, make you one insult. I went to this woman. They will be like, people are actually looking for fish, right? People don't want to be. We even had this conversation with my wife a while ago that people are just looking for fish. When you want to teach them how to fish, then they become offended. That look at
Yeah.
my brother, he's in America. I'm asking him for 100,000. He's
telling me
to go and read a book. That type of stuff. So, well, maybe we just need to balance it here. I think not
No,
just
absolutely. You would. I think even from the beginning, when I was saying, I said even Jesus said, when he was talking, when the woman came for healing, and she said, I can't give this to you. How do you expect me to take the bread for the children and give it to the dogs? And if she was not smart enough to say, look, even dogs eat the crumbs, that was the only way she said, it was unbelievable that she could be that hungry. But how many people do you find that will say, what? He insulted me. He told me that I'm a dog. She's like, yeah, okay, I'm a dog. That's all right. But at least even dogs eat. He dogs eat. So I'm a good dog.
They eat from the crumbs that fall from the table.
That from the table of their master. So I mean, it's having that kind of it's finding those kind of people, who have so much faith in themselves that they are willing to do anything. Like I share my story here, how I started off as a radio presenter at 17, and I worked for free. I just cared about doing something. It was in awe. I was in awe, and people might say, oh well, maybe you had your parents to support. Some people even have their parents to support and they still won't do it. All right, so it's not even about that. And my parents did not give me anything extra to go do the work. They gave me money for me to go to school, but I was able to manage that fund to also go to work. So I was going to school and going to work. I found a way to balance it to make that money multiplied in my hands. Not by asking anybody, but I just found a way. Sometimes I would walk. I would walk from school to work. I would walk on my feet. I would walk from school to work, and that would be maybe like 10 miles sometimes. But I'll just time myself. I'll say, okay, it's going to take an hour. Today I don't have much money, and I don't have to tell. And I could have told my parents, and they would have done it. So the point is, your willingness to you got to have faith in yourself, and believe in yourself. Then somebody's going to believe in you. But when you find those kind of people, don't walk past them, because it takes a lot to believe in yourself. Don't walk past them. Give them a chance. Take a chance on them and invest in them. All right. And a thought just came to me. And maybe if somebody comes across it, maybe you invest in the power of a name.
Absolutely.
Maybe you don't walk past. You look at the project we're trying to put together and how many people it can impact their lives, and you can start by investing in this because it will impact in many people's lives. So anyway, so and I think the next
buy 100,000 of these book copies and give it to people.
Yeah, to make a difference in their lives. All right.
Absolutely.
So the next one is think about succession. Always think about succession. I mean, after all, if you think about change, you have to think about progress. The only way, I mean,
let me interject you before you explain. I think you need to hammer this point because some of the religious leaders in your country need to hear this. Just saying. Some of the pastors in Nigeria need to hear this.
Well, you need to think about succession because I don't think that there's something that God said in, was it Moses, if I remember clearly. But there's a scripture that basically talks about the fact that God was trying to say that it's not what He was starting was going to take many generations. Can't remember whether it was Moses that He said that to, or I can't remember. But there's this part of the scripture that God said that what He was starting was going to span many generations, and maybe I'll find it later. But the
It's
point is,
Deuteronomy. It's
yeah,
Deuteronomy.
it's in Deuteronomy. So I don't think that God did anything, even when He spoke to Abraham and He made His promise. The promise to Abraham was actually to the many seeds that were inside Abraham. All right. So when God was talking to Abraham and saying, "I'll make you a powerful name," He was talking about Israel, who was eventually going to come out of Abraham. So He was actually talking to Israel when He kept saying, but it was through Abraham that the blessing, it says the blessing of Abraham will be with you. So there's always the starting point. There's always the Abraham moment. All right. But there's the seed, there's the Israel that is inside of you that is going to be blessed. So when you think about succession and you think about your powerful name in that in that um in that many generations, and you think, you know, then I love when I really love to talk about being intentional, because I think I've really come to that place where I understand that nothing happens in a vacuum. Nothing happens, like it says, unless forces apply to an object, it can never move. All right. So you have to be intentional about applying force, applying something to make things happen. And and that's and, and, that- and that's it. So when you understand that the power, your name, or um what is the vision you carry, the purpose that was given to you, God given purpose and mission, a thousand lives is never enough for God's goodness in your life. So so you can actually create a dynasty where, but if you're not intentional about it, all it takes is your son ruining it all, or your grandson messing up, you know, or your great grandson erasing your entire name from the face of the earth.
Which is as easy as anything.
It's so
It's difficult to build a powerful name. It's very easy to
it's
destroy
very
it.
easy. It's very easy to destroy. You know, I mean, a controversial example just came to me now, and but I'll say, because it's my opinion, anyways. But it's, I look at the situation with the the sorry the what's his name now, Prince Charles's son, and the American wife. What's the name now?
William,
William. William just kept skipped out of my brain. All right, for me, that's a typical example of a grandson trying to wipe out. And I mean, you can have all the excuse and the
oh, you actually mean Harry?
sorry, hold on. Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, I
I
mean, did you mean Prince Harry and Meghan?
Harry, not William. Why? Yeah, Harry and Meghan. So I was a bit distracted with my young ones. Yeah, yeah. So I'm just saying, like, I mean, I know that if you look at it from one angle, maybe justification, maybe, but in context to what we're talking about now, you know, it could, if it really went, if that dynasty wasn't as strong as it is, that one situation, this one situation could literally wipe out um 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 the name, in terms of its power and all the stories that came out from the whole, opera show and all that. So um that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to be careful to I know that everything cannot be in your control, but you build values, you know, and those values need to be ingrained and if possible documented, so that it's passed from generation to generation. David said, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Right? And I always find it very interesting when I go to the book of Kings, how most of the kings, they were always affiliated to David, of course, because they are his great, 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 great grandsons, one way or the other. But I noticed that whenever they did not, you would see some kings that would say, "Oh, and he did right as his father, King David." Oh, he did right as his father, King David. When they don't do right, they don't associate him with David, even though he's from the lineage of David. Right?
Actually, actually, most of those accounts in Kings are always like this, because most of the people that followed David did not really follow his path. So they will be like,
Yes.
and he didn't walk in the
Walk
ways
in
of
the
his
ways
father
also of his father
David.
David.
So they were trying to destroy his name.
They were trying
Even
to
even
discredit
if
him.
even Absalom, his son,
Yeah,
that
Absalom was a
drama with
total
his son
disaster.
was,
Yeah, it was so shameful, you
yeah.
know. So, but those,
I saw a beautiful face there. Who is that beautiful face? Hello, is he Charlotte?
Charlotte, yes,
How are you?
yes, this is the new 3-year-old in town.
Sleepy head. Happy birthday.
Yes. Hope you put your rubber ducky. But yeah, so, and I think that was one of the, luckily he had Solomon, but that was one of the aspects of David, Absalom, his son. All right. So I think we can learn from all those things in terms of hindsight. There was
Mhm.
something that I read today, and it was very sad. And basically, I'll just kind of give it in a nutshell. It was a story recounting, there was somebody that went for a party somewhere, and he was recounting the fact that there were so many young women going nude in this party, alongside elderly men that had so much money and all those kind of things that happened. But he was recounting the fact that he sat next to one of the young ladies, and she was puffing up and smoking weed and smoking kind of things, and she was barely in her 20s or even less, you know. She was in a university, and I wouldn't mention Bangkok University, because he mentioned the university and talked, and some other universities that they talked about. But whenever the guy talked about all that the girl was doing and all the da, 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 and all the evil that was going on, remove that thing from your mouth. Jeez, man. Sorry. He now said she uh, talked about her, and then yeah, it was he was talking about the fact that you need to be there for your children, because one of the things that the girl said, because I said to her, "What if your father showed up in this party?" She said, "What would he be looking for?" He would be looking for the same thing I'm looking for, right? What would he be doing in this kind of party? know and she complained of the fact that, well, I was doing this right in his front, but even when I was at home, I didn't have to be in university to do this. I was jumping the fence, and they didn't even notice that I was home. They didn't even notice I was, all these things. And the person, in summary, the person was saying, um, guys, between the age of 1 to 12, you really need to pay attention to your children. It's not about money. It's not about sending them to school and giving them education. You need to be present. You need to be there for them. Right? And I would say, don't just be present. Let them know your values. In this family, this is what we do. This is what we stand for. This is where we are going. Where we are heading. This is what, I also feel like some people used to say to me, oh, you come, I take my kids to work sometimes. I take my kids to work sometimes. But I was very intentional about it. My son, right from when he was a baby, because I wanted him to know what I do. I wanted him to see how hard I work, right? So sometimes from school, I come to the office and people say, "Oh, you're keeping your son late," and I said, "Hey, listen, I need him to know that I stay up late, not to fool around, but to work." He sees me in the office. We work too late. We go home. He sleeps. I said it's not gonna kill him. It's fine. I'm not saying that your child shouldn't sleep early. I'm just saying like I. This is the life he's going to, and this is the life he must understand about his parents. So I'm very intentional about exposing what I do to my kids, so that they understand clearly why um, why they can't mess it up. Say hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine.
I've
So
never
yeah,
I've never seen the dad, but I think that's carbon copy. Is he?
is it? Hey, what you mean? Oh,
I look like my daddy.
okay. They brought a picture for you to see.
All right, you see what I'm saying? You
Now,
see,
yes, it's the same shape of head, but the looks is mine. The shape of head is okay, but please.
whatever.
There you go. Oh, they're bringing more. Oh, guys, let's go. Okay, go and put it back. So, anyways, you have to switch it. Succession is who it is so important, and being very intentional about it is important. It's not like, okay, so there's this argument, okay, let your children do whatever they want to do, and I'm talking a little bit about children here, but it doesn't have to be your children. It doesn't have to be, that's what you choose. If you want other people to come and if you want people to come and take up your name. But I mean, I just think that what is logical and normal is that your children have your name, and we're talking about a powerful name. They are the ones that are going, they're custodians of that name. So it makes all the sense for you to empower them to understand this name, what we do, this is who we marry, this is what we believe in, this is, these are the kind of people we associate with. Can you wait? This is who we this is how we deal. These are the things that we won't do, and this is where we're going. And those ideals must be ingrained in them, and not to kind of create I mean, it could be, people can argue it out, but this is what I believe. Like, if you send your child and you're building a powerful name, I would say, like, I think that my children need to understand what I'm doing, what I'm building, and they have to have relevant knowledge for that. So maybe I can choose, if say my son becomes a doctor, for instance, if I allow, let me put it that way. If I say go and become a doctor, or if I say I think you should become a doctor, but I don't have the platform for him to express, or that's not what I've been building, then there's a contradiction, there's a problem. He can't, now he has to follow the path he has started, and while I have been building on this other part. So I think just kind of creating a balance within it's also important to create succession. They have to have the required knowledge for the journey, and that could come from education or that could come from training or learning, whichever way we choose.
Yeah, what's there in a powerful name if by the time you die and the name dies with you?
Yeah, yeah, that would be really sad. So yeah, so that's for me.
Uh, yeah, that's a good way to start to end it, because that will, this statement I just made,
Yeah,
what's there in a name
yeah.
if by the time you die it dies with you, launches
That's,
us to the last chapter, is a very good transposition to the last chapter, which is remembering a name. So the
yeah,
next time we'll be talking about legacy, how we have talked about how to maintain a name in this chapter. The next time we come and we are wrapping it up, we talk about, if you know how to maintain a name, your name will be remembered. If you don't
yeah.
know how to maintain a name, no matter how powerful it is, by the time you die,
It's
it dies
gonna be
with you.
wiped out.
I am
Yeah.
tempted to say something. I will just throw it there. It may not be in the book, but who knows what happens to TB Joshua in the next 5 years?
I
I
know.
hope I hope that his name will still be remembered in the next 5 years.
Well, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Did he have kids? I don't. I only just knew he had a family
Yeah, I don't want
recently.
us to discuss it. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I'm just
But I
like,
guess those are the
what's that? Because you talked about association, right?
yeah,
This
yeah,
last point, and I'm just saying, people live and they are not intentional about these things.
yeah.
And you may have the powerful name all over the world, and you die, and they bury you with your name, and that's
And
it.
that's it. And
After some time, you are forgotten, literally. And anyway.
and another crazy thing that can happen is your name being changed.
Absolutely, it's as easy as anything to change your name. Changing your name. So let me give you. I mean, there are
Oh
too
man,
many things. There are too many things to talk about in this
in this
in this session. But
episode.
I don't know whether you are familiar with the renowned apologetics Christian apologist Ravi Zacharias,
Yes, that died of
that died
cancer.
last year, and
And
yeah,
uh,
with all the revelations that are coming about some of the things he did, and right now Ravi Zacharias ministry is that the name of the ministry is Ravi Zacharias ministry is being changed
really,
in less
what
than
happened?
1 year. In less than 1 year,
Oh, I didn't
they are
follow through.
trying to totally remove his name,
Wow. So
because after his death they discovered all some of these stuff that he did that were not really Christian, were not really godly, and so they are trying to wipe up the entire name. And a renowned person that could go to the UN and give a lecture, go to all kinds of places,
I
and
used to listen.
so it's insane that people can work hard their entire lives building a powerful name, but they don't know how to maintain it.
Yeah.
You spend 50 years building a powerful name, and by the time you die, it dies with you. Isn't that a futile venture?
It
You
is
know,
so, you know, has no, I don't even know.
it's insane. It's insane.
That's the wake up call this book brings to. I hope we get politicians to read it.
I hope they are readers. I wish they read. If they read, I mean, readers are leaders. Leaders are readers, right? If our people were reading, I mean, our country would not be in this mess. So anyway, let's not put too many things here. Let's end it. What is there in the name? If by the time you die, it goes to the grave with
And
you.
it goes to wait. So yeah, so that's it for us.
Make I allow you sleep. Go to sleep.
Yeah,
I
it's you're in the afternoon zone. I'm
Yeah,
in the late
yeah.
night zone.
Yeah.
But I think today we really had fun because it's an hour 30 minutes.
Yeah, and the internet later cooperated, so thank God it did. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So tomorrow, hopefully, if anything changes, just let me know. If not, let's try to do this by 3 p.m. tomorrow and wrap it up with remembering a name. You kept saying from chapter 1 when we started that you're looking forward to remembering a name. So that would be like grand. I will just be waiting to hear what is this thing you've been planning. Grand finale
grand
conclusion
finale.
of the book. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mary, I'll
Well,
see you
thank you so
tomorrow.
much.
All right, good night.
Yes, good night.
Bye. Bye.